Well, hello everyone. My name is Nick Van Beek, and I am the lead pastor at Calvary Church in Edina, Minnesota. And I have been putting together daily devotionals for us as we endure this very crazy and unique time. And I've been doing this for two reasons. Number one is a way of maintaining a connection with my congregation. I miss them so much. And as a way of enduring this time together, see a face that you normally see and hear a voice that you normally hear. But also number two is a way of being fed by Scripture and clinging to the promises that we find there and being nourished by them. So what we've been doing for devotionals this week is we have been looking at various passages in Scripture where we see that very, very important command, do not be afraid. And on Monday of this week, I asked all of you to look through Scripture and to find one of these passages where we see this command. And many of you responded with the story of Joshua. At the end of Deuteronomy and the beginning of Joshua, we see a very high density of this command. This command occurs twice in 3 verses in Deuteronomy 31. And then in the book of Joshua, it appears 5 times. Joshua, for those of you who do not know, was a very important military leader in the history of Israel, and he's most known for leading and bringing the people of Israel into the promised land. And he's known for being a strong, important, and powerful leader for the people of Israel. And again, he led the people into the promised land, which is a place where God's people are supposed to find peace and security and rest. Today, we are going to read that passage from Deuteronomy. Most of you referenced that first chapter of Joshua, where Joshua is commanded to not be afraid. But we're going to read from the lesser known passage in Deuteronomy 31. So I invite you to hear the word of the Lord from Deuteronomy 31, verses 1 through 8. Then Moses went out and spoke these words to all Israel. I am now 120 years old and am no longer able to lead you. The Lord has said to me, you shall not cross the Jordan. The Lord your God himself will cross over ahead of you. He will destroy these nations before you, and you will take possession of their land. Joshua also will cross over ahead of you, as the Lord said. And the Lord will do to them what he did to Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites, whom he destroyed along with their land. The Lord will deliver them to you, and he must do to them all that I have commanded to you. Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified or afraid because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the presence of all of Israel, be strong and courageous, for you must go with this people into the promised land that the Lord swore to their forefathers to give them, and you must divide among them as their inheritance. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. And do not be discouraged. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. As a church leader and as a pastor, I've been to a lot of conferences and I've read a lot of books on leadership. And one of the interesting things to me about this passage as Joshua is succeeding Moses is that it is very clearly told to him to find his strength in God and not in himself. To find comfort in the reality that he is not alone, that God is with him and that he will not leave him. Read a leadership book and it will be all about finding your gifts and learning to use your ability and teaching you skills so you know how to use them, and I'll agree that these things are important. We should do these things. Go to a leadership conference and it will be all about what you should do to lead well and how you can do it. And these things are important, and we should do them. But it's very interesting to me that one of the great leaders, and perhaps the greatest military leader in the history of Israel, was shown from the very beginning to find courage in the reality that he had a God who was present. One of the things that I want us to see today and throughout these devotionals is that our culture sends us the opposite message. Our culture wants us to be able to do everything ourselves, to be independent people, to be resilient and courageous in our own power and strength, even to do things alone, and that there is pride and there is power to not have any help. Even on the news, as the media shares with us what's going on in our world right now, the message is constantly about what we can do, what human beings are doing, and what human beings should do. And the media says things to us like, stay healthy and be well, which is nice and important. But as Christians, we lead and we live life differently. We find our strength not in ourselves, but in the power of God. We find hope and peace in knowing that He is with us and that we are not alone. This command invites us to see our world through this lens, through the perspective that our God is with us, that is He who is the one who gives us the strength to do the things that we are able to do. God wanted Joshua to understand as he led his people that his strength needed to be in God and not in himself. Yes, he was going to lead, and yes, he was going to help the people find peace and rest. But those things would only happen when Joshua saw things through the lens that God was with him. And of course, that is my invitation to all of us today, to see our lives as living in the strength of God and not primarily in our own strength. And to stop seeing ourselves as doing this alone, cooped up in our houses, enduring this by ourselves. Because as we're really finding out right now, as human beings, we are weak. We need help. We need strength. We need the presence and power of a God who brings us peace and rest. People of God, do not be afraid, and may the Lord be with you.